My life was measured in milliliters and molecular structures. I'm Elias. I'm not a bartender. I am a mixologist. I run Ether, a cocktail lounge in Manhattan where the menu looks like a chemistry textbook and a drink takes 12 minutes to construct. I use centrifuges, rotavaps, and liquid nitrogen. I don't serve drinks. I serve liquid narratives. My world is precise, sterile, and famously, intimidatingly quiet. My personal headache was a guy named Jax. Jax owned the Rusty Nail, a dive bar 3 blocks away. It was loud, sticky, and smelled of stale beer and bad decisions. Jax was the anti-me. He was a whirlwind of chaotic charisma, tattoos, and flannel shirts with the sleeves ripped off. He poured whiskey with a heavy hand, cracked jokes that made the whole bar roar, and opened beer bottles with his teeth. He was a barbarian. Naturally, the city's biggest hospitality magazine decided to pair us up for the Clash of the Shakers, a high-profile charity gala where 2 titans of the industry had to collaborate on a signature menu for 500 VIPs. It's a fusion concept, the editor told me, her eyes gleaming. High science meets lowbrow. It'll be electric. It was going to be a disaster. We met in my lab, my prep kitchen. It was gleaming white stainless steel. I had my beakers lined up. Jax walked in, looking like he'd just rolled out of bed, holding a 6-pack of cheap lager. Nice operating theater, he said, looking at my centrifuge. Where do you keep the organs? Touch nothing, I snapped. We have a menu to design. I'm thinking a deconstructed gin fizz using a clarified milk punch and a chamomile foam. Jax laughed. He popped a beer. Dude, it's a party. People want to get buzzed and dance. They don't want to eat foam with a spoon. How about a really good bourbon smash? Muddled peaches. Lots of ice. Done. We are not serving muddled peaches to the mayor, I said, horrified. For a week we fought. I'd present a complex, layered flavor profile. He'd tell me it tasted like fancy soap. He'd suggest a Boilermaker variation. I'd tell him it was pedestrian swill. We finally settled on a compromise, the smoke and mirrors. It was a mezcal-based cocktail. I would handle the smoked rosemary infusion and the spherical ice. He would handle the citrus blend and the service. The night of the gala arrived. The venue was a massive, converted warehouse in Brooklyn. It was packed. The music was loud. The lights were low. Our station was a long, sleek bar in the center of the room. I had my mise en place set up with surgical precision. My smoking gun was ready. My ice spheres were tempered. Jax was next to me. He was wearing a vest over a white t-shirt, his tattoos on display. He looked good. In a rough, unrefined way. He was already charming the first guests, spinning shakers, laughing. Relax, Professor, he nudged me. It's just booze. It's chemistry, I corrected, checking my thermal probe. The rush hit us like a tidal wave. Suddenly, we weren't making 2 drinks. We were making 200. I was in the weeds immediately. My smoking process was too slow. I was trying to inject smoke into individual decanters, swirling them, pouring over the sphere. It was taking 40 seconds per drink. The line was growing. People were getting impatient. Elias, Jax yelled over the music. You gotta speed it up. You're bottlenecking the service. I cannot rush the diffusion process. I yelled back, sweating in my tailored suit. Then, the inevitable happened. My smoking gun, a delicate, $300 piece of equipment, jammed. The fan motor whined and died. I froze. My entire concept relied on that smoke. Without it, the drink was just mezcal and lime. It was boring. It was a failure. No, I whispered, frantically clicking the trigger. No, no, no. The line of guests was staring at me. I could feel the heat rising in my neck. I was the genius mixologist, and I was about to serve a flat, unsmoked drink to the food critics in the front row. Jax, I choked out. The gun. It's dead. Jax didn't miss a beat. He slammed a shaker tin onto the bar. Screw the gun, he yelled. We do it the old way. What old way? There is no old way for cold smoking. Yes, there is. Grab the rosemary. He grabbed a creme brulee torch from his kit. He threw a handful of dried rosemary onto a slate serving board right on the bar top. He torched it until it caught fire, flames leaping up. The crowd gasped. Fire. Everyone loves fire. Cover it, he commanded, shoving a massive glass pitcher into my hands. I didn't think. I inverted the pitcher over the burning herbs. The flame died, starved of oxygen, and the pitcher instantly filled with thick, white, aromatic smoke. Now pour the batch in there, he yelled, grabbing the bottles of liquor. He poured the mezcal and citrus mixture into the smoke-filled pitcher. He grabbed a bar spoon and swirled it violently. The liquid washed over the smoke, infusing it instantly. It was crude. It was aggressive. It was brilliant. "Ice," he roared. I grabbed a tin of ice. He dumped the smoked cocktail into the tin, capped it, and then he shook. I'd never really watched him shake before. It wasn't my gentle, rhythmic, Japanese-style hard shake. This was violence. It was a piston-like, full-body motion. He was putting his entire soul into that tin. The sound of the ice cracking was like a drum beat. He slammed the tin down, popped the seal, and strained the drink over my perfect ice sphere. "Garnish," he ordered. I placed a sprig of fresh rosemary. He slid the drink to the critic. "The Bonfire," he winked. "Courtesy of the professor and the beast." The critic took a sip. Her eyes widened. "It's incredibly robust," she shouted over the music. "It tastes like a campfire in a glass. It's amazing." I just stared at him. He was sweating, grinning, his hair falling into his eyes. He had just saved my reputation by setting the bar on fire. "Move it, Elias," he bumped my shoulder. "We got a line. Torch the herbs." For the next 2 hours, we were a machine. I was the pyromaniac, torching rosemary, trapping smoke. He was the engine, shaking, pouring, serving. We fell into a rhythm that was frantic, sweaty, and perfectly synchronized. I anticipated his reach. He anticipated my pour. We were dancing. By 2 a.m., the gala was over. We were the last ones standing. The bar was a wreck of spilled ice, burnt rosemary ash, and empty bottles. We were exhausted. I was covered in soot and sticky lime juice. My suit was ruined. I leaned against the back counter, breathing hard. Jax was sitting on top of the bar, swinging his legs, drinking a tepid beer. "Well," he said, wiping ash from his cheek, "we didn't kill anyone. We set the bar on fire," I said, looking at the scorch mark on the slate. "And they loved it," he grinned. "Admit it, Professor. That was fun." I looked at him. I looked at his strong, calloused hands that had shaken 1,000 drinks tonight. I looked at the sweat on his neck. "It wasn't science," I said softly. "No," he agreed. "It was jazz." He hopped off the bar. He landed right in front of me. The space behind the bar was narrow. We were inches apart. The smell of burnt rosemary and mezcal was thick in the air, mixed with his own scent, something like cedar and honest work. "You're a mess," he said, reaching out to touch my lapel. "You got ash on your fancy suit." "You're a barbarian," I whispered. "You used a blowtorch indoors." "And you loved it," he murmured. His voice dropped in octaves. The playfulness was gone, replaced by a sudden, heavy tension. His eyes dropped to my mouth. My heart, which had finally slowed down from the service, kicked into a new, erratic rhythm. "Jax," I breathed. He didn't wait. He stepped in, his hand sliding around the back of my neck, his grip firm and hot. He pulled me to him. The kiss was like the drink, smoky, intense, and intoxicating. It wasn't precise. It was hungry. I tasted the beer on his tongue and the adrenaline of the night. I grabbed the front of his vest, pulling him closer, needing to feel the solid reality of him against me. He groaned into my mouth, pushing me back against the stainless steel sink, his body pressing into mine. It was a collision of high science and dive bar instinct. It was messy, and it was perfect. When we finally broke apart, gasping, he rested his forehead against mine. "So," he whispered, his thumb tracing my bottom lip, "what's the scientific analysis of that?" I let out a shaky laugh. "Inconclusive," I murmured, pulling him back in. "I need a larger sample size."